Hello, and welcome to this Cropster origin tutorial. In this video, we're going to be discussing how to add a batch. Batches in Cropster are defined as day lots. That is, they are small parts that will be used to build up a full lot of coffee. To add a batch, navigate to the Origin tab and click on Batches. Here you see the batch list overview. To add a new batch, click the Add button and select Batch. Adding a batch is divided into two parts. The first step is reception, where you'll define the suppliers that will deliver the coffee. And the second part is called processing, where you'll define what gets done with that coffee. First thing you can do is select a reception date. And then a supplier type. You have four options. Are you receiving the coffee from a picker who's picking coffee from one field of a farm, of a community? Or are you selecting just a field? You don't know who picked the coffee, but you know where it came from. Or more generally, which farm or farmer you got the coffee from. And lastly, if you don't have a very detailed idea of where the coffee came from, you can select community, roughly the area that the coffee came from. Let's stick with farm for now. To add your first supplier, click here and begin typing the name of your supplier. Here's Catherine. Maybe Catherine will deliver 20,000 kg of cherry. We can continue adding suppliers, such as Ducky. Maybe Ducky delivers 17,540. And perhaps we can add a supplier who we don't have in the system yet. Just start typing a name. There was an option to add the new name by clicking the Add button. You'll notice the supplier has been successfully created. And this is a supplier with supplier type farm. And also make sure you add in the amount that they have delivered. Maybe 24,900. The total amount being delivered in this batch is 62,440 kg. Click the next step and then choose your received state. What form the coffee is going to be in when you receive it at your mill or collection site. You can choose from cherry all the way through dry cherry, parchment, wet green, green raw, or even green clean. Let's stick with cherry for now, and then select the process you will use in order to make this coffee into its final product. The full weight here is already populated for you. If you're satisfied with this, you can go ahead and click Create Batch. You'll notice that on your batch list, a new batch is created with the weight received indicated. You'll also notice that in the stored weight column, there is a light gray estimate of how much stored weight we're going to get out once the process is completed. That stored weight in this case would be in parchment state because it's a washed process. Finally, on the green column, you'll see how many bags of green coffee you can expect once the dry milling section has been completed. Next, let's look at some more advanced options. Let's go and add another batch. Select the reception date. And add another person. Here's Nick Erbacher. He's going to deliver 75,000 kg of cherry. But we want to add some more details this time. We have these options to include about Nick and the coffee he's delivering. We can add the varieties if we know them. We can see his member number if he has one. We can also add the gross weight. That is the amount of the weight of the coffee plus the packages that it arrived in. So if you're trying to track the weight of the bags, you can do so. The price per unit, which is how much we're paying Nick for his coffee. And then, of course, the subtotal, which will give us the amount that he would be paid. Finally, we have these additional levels of traceability: community, farm, and field. Since Nick is a farm, we can only have a higher level of traceability available to us. You'll notice that the farm option and the field option are grayed out. Nick is a farmer. He belongs to a community. So let's go ahead and pick that community. Let's say he belongs to the Green Hill community. You can also select the varieties he's delivering. Maybe it's some Castillo and some Bourbon. You can select the gross weight that he's delivered. It must always be greater than the weight of the coffee itself. And then the price he's going to be paid. Let's say he's getting $1.2 per kg, which gives us a subtotal of 90,000. Going to the next menu, we can also customize the details here. These are the extra options we have under the Customize menu: Factor 1, Factor 2, Pile, Project, Part, and Notes. The part indicates the quality part of the cherry he's delivering. So, for example, this might be ripe red cherry. If we had two parts, we could select maybe the unripe cherry that he's delivering and also suggest an amount of coffee for that. So if we've got 75,000 in total, maybe 25,000 is actually unripe, which means that only 50,000 could be ripe. The yield factors will help determine the estimates that are shown on the list overview. So right now we're saying that there is a 5-to-1 ratio between the cherry to the parchment weight, and then a 1.2 ratio from the parchment to the green coffee. We can override this if we have a better estimate by simply putting in a new input amount and a new output amount. We can also display this as a percentage instead of a ratio if we so choose. You'll also notice the pile column. Piled coffee implies that we're not actually going to be able to weigh this coffee when it is finished processing. So once it's come off the drying bed and is being put into the warehouse, if you do not weigh the coffee at that stage, check the pile box. That way, you won't have to worry about inputting any of the parchment weight when it comes to that point. You can simply skip ahead to adding your batch and lots to inventory, and you will not be restricted from proceeding. Lastly, the optional field project allows you to select any of the customizable projects from the projects menu and assign those projects to your batches. If we click create, you'll notice again the batch was added, but this time in two parts. The weight estimates have been created for the part where we have not piled it. And you can see the names of those parts if you expose the part column.